ancient Egypt, a small group of men lived right next to power, sworn to guard the pharaoh. And as dawn lights the palace, one of them begins his shift. Here's what his day looks like. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you want to see more interesting lives like his. At first light, the guard gets ready. In winter, a brazier keeps the room warm while men tie sandals and fix their kilts. Each man carries a baton or spear for show and keeps a khopesh or bow nearby for trouble. He lines his eyes with coal to cut sunlight, then hangs a scarab amulet on his chest. The mud brick barracks start to stir with movement. Excavated garrisons show rows of small rooms with grain bins, ovens, and animal pens. Supplies usually arrive at dawn, brought by women and children with jars of water, bread, and dried fish. Tomb scenes even show flowers delivered to cheer up the guards, which says a lot about morale. Meanwhile, a scribe checks the quotas and reports to the officer. Meat is rare, but sometimes a cow from royal estates is butchered and dried. Bones found near ovens suggest beef was eaten as stew or jerky. Before his post, the guard joins the morning muster. The company lines up as the overseer calls roll and a scribe records names. Reliefs from the tomb of Mahu, a police chief, show this very moment at sunrise. The night watch gives its report, sometimes standing around a brazier. And if it's too cold, a servant lights another so the officers can keep their hands from freezing. Most mornings are routine, but not all. Noises by the granaries, intruders near the walls, trouble now and then. In Mahu's tomb, our guard listens as his men report catching offenders, then rides out in a chariot to seize them. Such moments were rare, but they showed that a guard has to be ready at all times. The papyrus lancing calls a soldier's life unending misery, full of toil and danger. Our guard knows this, but still wears his uniform with pride. To him, guarding the pharaoh means guarding Ma'at, the order of the world. With muster done, the new shift marches out. At the gatehouse, the guard takes his place as Thebes wakes. Sunlight floods the courts and pylons while he stands dutifully at the doorway. Ministers, petitioners, and princes pass through under his watch. Ancient texts call guards hentish, which translates to those in front, men who stood before the king as protectors. In the Old Kingdom, the title didn't literally mean guard, but the duty was the same. Through centuries, titles changed, but the mission stayed the same. Protect the king, his family, and his palaces everywhere. And so, from the first light of day, our guard carries that mission. Inside the palace, the pharaoh finished his morning routine. Guards stand with the attendants in the royal chambers. Records show they carried towels and bowls as often as weapons. One even helped feed, bathe, or clothe the king. Closeness, after all, was no accident. Armed loyalty was safest at his side. While one official poured oils and another arranged fine linen, a guard waited at the door. He could lift a jewelry chest, keep watch, or crack a joke if the mood needed it. By mid-morning, the pharaoh moved to the audience chamber. The guard would escort him and stand by the gilded throne. He would stay still, but sharp as officials bowed low before the king. Envoys from Nubia, priests from Karnak, and others brought petitions. The guard scans the room for hidden blades. Art shows scenes like this, attendants with staves behind the throne. Most audiences ended quietly, but risk was always around. The judicial papyrus of Turin tells of a harem plot against Rameses III. It reminded every guard that danger lived inside the palace as much as outside. Betrayal was the hardest fear to shake. And so, loyalty had to be absolute, for one slip could end the king's life. Standing by the throne with his weapons, our guard knew he was the last wall against chaos. By late morning, the audience would end. The pharaoh walks toward the great temple of Amun. Guards take position ahead to clear the path. This was making the king's way, and they took pride in it. Pairs of men flanked the king, with their staffs and axes in hand. Old tombs even label such officers as escort of the royal. Crowds gather in Thebes to catch a good glimpse of the pharaoh, while the guards keep order, as in great festivals like Opet. Even in a modest procession, sharp eyes did the work of swords. When one eager youth pressed forward, our guard's grip tightened on his staff. Protocol would not break on his watch. Moments later, the pharaoh steps into the hypostyle hall to honor Amun-Ra at Karnak. Guards spread out at gates and corners. Only priests and sentries trail him. Carved reliefs show this duty, guards with rods clearing paths for sacred barks. For an hour, while the king prays, burns incense, and sacrifices a bull, our guard waits by a column. He smells incense and roasting meat, half offering, half hint of lunch. When the rites end and Ma'at is affirmed, the pharaoh walks back to the palace. The guard is then released for his own meal. In the barracks shade, he eats with comrades. Barley bread, dried fish, and beer, the safe drink, were poured in generous rations. Onions or dates add a little variety. It was plain, but filling. Meanwhile, they swap jokes, maybe at the expense of one man who nodded off at the temple post. After lunch, those not on palace duty train. Texts don't list the drills, but old records confirm they were routine. Inscriptions praise an overseer of guards as greatest in combat, skill built by practice. Under the sun, men fire arrows at straw targets. Their arms are straining with composite bows. Others spar with staves and shields, learning to disarm and counter. Reliefs show soldiers carrying bundles of weapons, ready for training or spares. Commanders press for readiness by simulating the act of marching beside the king in war. Wene, an official under Pepi I, boasted of leading troops 6 times into battle, with palace guards among them. Each sparring session could decide survival, for themselves and for their king. And you know, not all train at once. Some remain on watch. Others join the pharaoh for his afternoon outing. New Kingdom rulers often toured the city or inspected works after lunch. But today, the pharaoh decides to view a new obelisk. And so, the chariot rolls out, horses prancing, guards jogging beside. In the tomb of Mahu, chief of police, reliefs show 15 men running before the royal chariot, shouting praise. So, yes, our guard knows the scene well. Hooves thunder, dust rises, and he runs ahead, clearing bystanders. Even the vizier is shown puffing along in Mahu's relief, proof that age has no pity. Our guard's hand stays close to his weapon. Citizens cheer, but he does not forget the chance of an assassin in the crowd. Shortly thereafter, the tour ends safely. The obelisk flashes in the sun as the entourage returns to the palace. But before he enters, his superior hands him a sealed message for the harbor garrison. You see, guards often served as couriers, carrying royal orders. One late account even notes them sending letters to provinces. His errand at this time, however, is local, only to the key. And by his return, the sun is low, and his shift is almost done. The sun drops low, and the Pharaoh walks to the temple of Amun for his last duty of the day. Our guard, tired but watchful, joins fresh sentries at the west-facing altar. Priests ready the evening bark of Ra as torches blink and the sky turns purple. He stands behind the king until the final hymn dies out, and incense smoke cools in the air. With a nod from the Pharaoh, the procession carries him back to the palace. Inside, lamps glow and shutters are drawn. The guard escorts the king to his quarters. He then bows and steps away. His shift ends as the night watch takes over. They are fellow guards, and the Medjay, Nubian-born scouts turned elite guards. In the Theban hills, Medjay patrols listen for tomb robbers. Even a faint tap of a chisel can give thieves away. One historian said it best: sound was the tomb raider's enemy. For now, the guard walks back under starlight. Dinner is bread, beer, and lentil soup. He eats, rubbing sore legs, while others gamble, carve game pieces, or play senet. Our guard, however, avoids dice, though he prays quietly to Bess for a peaceful day. Before sleep, he checks his gear. Baton wiped, spear racked, and sword sheathed beneath his cot. Bronze swords could be a prize. One sword found from Ramesses, the second's barracks bore the king's name and likely belonged to an officer. Our guard's own sword is plain, but it's sharp, and it feels right in his hand. If the alarm sounds, he can be ready in seconds. As he lies down, he thinks back on the day. The pride of seeing envoys bow, the rush of running beside the royal chariot, the quiet of the sunset rite. Most details of guard life were never written down. There weren't any diaries or schedules, but we see traces of their lives in stone and artifacts, and the record shows them always near the Pharaoh. They guarded palaces, temples, borders, and tombs. They marched in victory parades, watched over chapels, even helped dress the king, as we saw earlier. For them, duty was belief, a ritual in itself. A guarded king meant order, or ma'at. An unguarded king meant chaos, or isfet. So even standing silent in a hallway carried weight. Egypt's balance rested on their watchful eyes. Meanwhile, in the barracks, the lamp burns low as our guard closes his eyes. His spear lies within reach, while outside, a patrol calls into the night. Tomorrow the cycle starts again. In the end, one truth is clear. Pharaohs were the stars, but guards were the links holding the sky in place.